So today we're continuing our fractions unit and we're discussing working with word problems today. So please remember, when solving a word problem, you read the whole problem, you identify the operations needed to be used and in what order. You look for the numbers that are in the problem, you set up the problem, you solve, and then you select your answer. So if we look at number 1, Martha read 1/6 of her library book on Saturday and 5/12 of her book on Sunday. How much more of her book does Martha have left to read? So she read 1/6 and then she did 5/12 on the next day. So she did 1/6 of her library book on Saturday. She did 5/12 of the book on Sunday. It says how much more of the book does she have left to read? So because she read this much on day 1 and this much on day 2, we're going to add those two together. But then it says how much more does she have left? Because it says how much more does she have left to read, we need to do some subtraction at the end. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add up 5/12 plus 1/6. Now because this is addition, we're going to add, subtract, stack, and rack. So 1/6 plus 5/12. And there's no whole numbers, so we need to look at the denominators. They are 6 and 12. So 6 is a factor of 12, so we're going to change this denominator to be 12. 6 times 2 is 12, so 1 times 2 is 2. Looking at the numerators, I'm going to add them. 2 plus 5 over 12. 2 plus 5 is 7 over 12. So this is how much she has read. And it's asking how much is left over to read. Well, if you think of the whole book as a whole, so it'd be 1 minus that 7/12. Now, I can't leave a whole number just as a 1. I need to make it a fraction. So because this denominator is 12, we're going to make it 12 over 12, because 12 divided by 12 would just be 1. And so this 7/12 is just going to get drug over. And I'm going to subtract 12 minus 7, and it's over 12. 12 minus 7 is 5 over 12. So I have 5/12 of my book left over to read. You could also just look at this 7/12. If you don't want to do the subtraction, how much more do I need to add to 7 to get to 12? Well, I'd have to add 5 more to get there. So that's another option for you. Okay, number 2. The candy store had a candy sale on Saturday. They sold 1/2 pound of sour cherries, 1 2/3 pounds of fruity treats, and 1 5/6 pounds of jelly beans. How many pounds of candy were sold? So it's asking how much is sold. That is a total question. It's asking how much in all, or total. So we're just going to add. We don't have to do anything else. So we're going to look at our numbers. We have 1 1/2, 1 2/3, and 1 5/6. Now, add, subtract, stack, and rack. Now, in this case, I'm going to have 3. So 1/2, 1 2/3, and 1 5/6, and I'm going to add them all together. Mixed numbers turn to improper. So this is just going to stay. I'm going to scooch it over 1/2. This one is 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 gives me 5 over 3. And then this one, 6 times 1 is 6, plus 5 gives me 11 over 6. Now I need to find a common denominator. 2, 3, and 6. If you think about the numbers that they have in common, all of these can go have a denominator of 6, because 3 can go into 6 and 2 can go into 6. So if I change these ones to have a denominator of 6 and then leave this one alone, 2 times 3 is 6, so 1 times 3 will be the numerator, which is 3. 3 times 2 is 6, so 5 times 2 will be 10. And then 11 over 6 is just I can scooch it over, and it'll say 11 over 6. Now I'm going to add the 3 numerators together. 3 plus 10 plus 11 over 6. If I add all of those 3 together, I get 24 over 6. And if you think about it, 24, if I just divide 24 divided by 6, I get 4 pounds. So the answer is just 4. Now, you could also just do divide by 6, and then you'll get 4 over 1, but be smarter than your work. 4 divided by 1 is just going to be 4. You could also turn these into mixed numbers into improper fractions. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 more gives me 10 over 3, not the answer. This one becomes 8 over 3, not the answer. This one becomes 11 over 5, not the answer. Okay? If we look down at number 3 and number 4, I want you to try number 3 on your own. The table shows Wendell's hours in class. What is the closest amount to the number of hours Wendell spends in class? So go ahead, try number 3 on your own. If we look at number 3, this is just an adding one because it's asking for the number of total hours. So it's going to be just like the 1 in number 2, 1 and 1/3 plus 2/3 and then 3/4. Mixed numbers turn improper. So 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 more gives you 4 over 3. This I'm going to scooch over is 2 over 3, and this one I'm going to scooch over is 3 over 4. Now if I look at the denominators, I have a 3, and a 4. Common denominator could be 12. So we're going to set them all equal to 12. 3 times 4 is 12, so 4 times 4 is 16. 3 times 4 is 12, so 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. So 16 plus 8 plus 9 over 12, because 12 is the denominator. So then I add this, 16 plus 8 plus 9. And if you don't know that, you can come over here to the side. So you can do 16 plus 8. So 16 plus 8 is going to be 14, 8, 9, 10, 10, no, that's multiplying. Rewind. This will be 2, 24. And then I add 9 to that, becomes 33 over 12. Now the problem is here, 33 over 12 doesn't really relate to anything here. So I need to think in my head, how close can I get 12 to 33? Well, 2 times 12 would be 24. 3 times 12 would be 36. So 2 is as close as I can get. So the whole number for this is going to be 2. The denominator stays 12. And then to get from 24 to 33, I need 9 more. And if you think about 9/12, so I have 2 and 9/12 now. Well, if you think about it, it says what is the closest amount. So we're going to kind of have to estimate for this one. 1 is not close enough, so that's not going to work. 4 is too big, so that's not going to work. Now I'm stuck between limbo land of 3 and 2. Well, if you think of 9/12, isn't 9/12 pretty close to being a whole of 12/12? So this is going to be 2 plus another one because we need to round up. So we have, it's closest to 3 hours. It's not closest to 2. Okay, so let's look at number 4. And it's okay, looking back real quick at number 3, it's okay if you need to estimate a little bit if it says what is the closest or about how much will they spend. If it says about or closest or any of those estimating words, you're going to have to pick the closest one. It's not going to be your exact answer. Okay, now let's look at number 4. Sarah has 3 bags of marbles. Each bag has 16 marbles. If 3/4 of the marbles are blue, what is the total number of marbles in the bag? So it says we have 3 bags of marbles. There are 16 marbles in each bag, and 3/4 of the marbles are blue. And it says, what is the total number of blue marbles? Now, total in this one is not a giveaway for addition. Total in this one just means all. How many are there in all? There are 3 bags of marbles, and it says 3/4 of the marbles are blue. Of tells you to multiply by the marbles. And we need to figure out how many marbles there are, because if there are 3 bags and each bag has 16, if we do 16 times 3, that means that we have 48 marbles. And then we need to do 3/4 of the marbles are blue. So we're going to do 48 times 3/4. Remember, whole numbers go over 1. 48 times 3 is going to give me 144. 1 times 4 is 4. And if I divide this by 4, because they're both even, I'm left with 36 over 1, which is just 36. So I'm left with 36 blue marbles.